Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Deck podcast. I am Beata Rouleau. I am the founder, CEO of Compass Consulting, where we help visionary CEOs scale their businesses by implementing RevOps systems that actually work. So our goal is to turn revenue chaos into predictable growth. And I love what I do. I love getting to sit down with awesome, smart people like Blair here who are doing great things within the market. So Blair, welcome to the podcast. So excited to have you.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm really thrilled to be here. Been looking forward to our conversation.
Awesome. Would love to just for you to kick it off and tell us a little bit more about yourself, anything we should know about your background and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah. So I like to say I've been in Fintech since before Fintech was Fintech. So I joined the industry before the term was really coined. And I've developed a perspective on what people want from financial services and Fintech, the supporting technologies. And this is going to be shocking, but it's service. It's literally in the name. But I also think that most people and organizations actually don't get it. And technology is a fantastic way for us to change that. We can make the, industry larger, provide profitable and beneficial financial services to more people and organizations. And that is a fantastic thing. That has brought me to Breva, where we see ourselves as a bridge between small businesses and capital. We help we have an agentic AI CFO that we've named Breva. She coaches, trains, supports small business owners to be better financial managers, to get funding ready and to find appropriate capital. And here's the thing I think that is really, really cool is to deploy that capital, use that money to accomplish what they got in the business to do in the first place.
Yeah, I love what you said about the service component because Fintech started as financial services and then added a layer of technology. And now it's focused on financial technology compared to what we really are doing is we're providing a service with technology as the mechanism.
Right.
But that service piece from our conversations, it's so clear that's very important for Breva and the work that you do. So I would love to hear a little bit more about the actual product of Breva. Like if I'm a business owner that's listening to this, and what are the pain points I would be experiencing and what are the things that really, when people see Breva, they have that aha moment of, yes, this is the tool and the solution that I need.
What I think really, really amazes people is when they start seeing the interaction of the AI CFO and the insights that it provides. There's a lot of work that goes into that. We've interviewed a little over 16,000 small businesses at this point, and a significant portion of those, the majority of those small businesses admit that their books are, we'll say, challenged. And, clean books, a balance sheet that balances isn't the goal, but it's a foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, you don't really have a good control of what's going on in your organization. Just puts the organization, the business at risk, and certainly limits your ability to, find the capital you need for growth. So it's not the sexy part, but our AI does transaction matching, for example. And the other thing we learned, by the way, is small business owners don't like doing accounting. I know that's shocking. Large business owners don't like doing accounting either, as it turns out. But oftentimes they don't. So a baseline thing that we'll do is help the businesses get their books clean. And we'll do that efficiently and without a lot of late night drudgery. And then it's a function of better managing cash flows. So, hey, our AI can see if there's a cash flow shortfall in 3 weeks, for example, and payrolls too. So let's deal with that now. When, line of credit, whatever it is, when capital is relatively cheap instead of, 2 hours before you got to process payroll. When you can get funded in an hour, you just don't want to pay that, right? That's not a good thing. But when people see and even talk to the Bree, our AI, that gets like the looks like that, like, oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, it is such a, I work with a lot of businesses and there's different languages that different groups use. I have not used Bree before, but from what you're sharing, it sounds like she speaks the language of a small business owner, where a lot of, CPAs, CFOs, they're speaking a different language. So they're talking in terms, they're thinking about things in a way that for someone who started a small business, they're good at something specific. That's not the language that they speak. So it sounds like there's Bree is able to kind of meet these business owners where they are and speak a language that can actually help them take action.
And that's absolutely right and spot on. It's very contextualized. So it's based on that business's data, that type of business. And then Bree communicates in very plain, easy to understand language. There is so what our biggest goal is we want to increase the business owner's financial fluency. We want the business owner to be a better and well-informed manager of their finances, their cash flows, and just their organization as a whole. To do that, there's absolutely a micro learning component that's going on here. So every time Bree communicates, like she'll suggest the best actions to take right now. Do these three things right now. But then she adds the context of why it's important and the impact it'll have. We even show a confidence interval in there. And over time, that increases that financial fluency. People, that context adds the learning element to it. And really what you want to really kind of own your finances and understand them. And then better decisions. You talk to people in the industry and business owners, they'll say, made a couple of bad decisions, but we made it through there. Well, let's eliminate those bad decisions. We can't go backwards, but moving forwards, let's eliminate those bad decisions moving forwards. That lowers the failure rate. I tell my capital partners, better run businesses, repay their loans. Seems important in the industry, right? So let's help them be better run.
That's such a great call out because a lot of use with AI can lead people to be dependent on AI for these answers. And if the goal is not for every question that they have for them to have to come to Bree and ask that question. It's, can you ask that question, maybe 1 to 3 times? It will take a couple times for you to see the pattern of, hey, this is the situation I'm dealing with. I know these are the actions that I can take. That's so empowering for a business leader versus being reliant on someone else. They can actually then go and make decisions independently.
And decision support's absolutely what it's all about. And then, they know here's the information you need, make a good, well-informed decision. And, access to capital is a great example. Depends on where you see the statistic, but at least half of small business loan applications are denied. And I've seen it as high as 80%, but let's just call it half. That's a very time consuming thing to do. And it's very frustrating too. So I personally want to eliminate the big red exit denial, right? Let's not turn people down. Don't apply if you're not, you don't meet the requirements. And Bree will show you. Like, no, I understand you need $500,000 worth of financing. Here's what you need to do in order to qualify for $500,000 from that financial institution or that lender. And then when you meet, and Bree will absolutely match businesses with capital where there's a mutual match, right? And share the lender docs so the application's are really easy, but then apply. It's important in banking too. There's a cost to financial institutions to underwrite the loans that aren't approved. It's literally better for everybody to do that.
So for someone who is a small business owner today and they don't know if they're going to need funding in the future, but they might, what are your suggestions in terms of when should someone start getting funding ready and what does that process actually look like?
So the term you'll hear a lot of times in the industry is a bankable standard, and you want to operate your business at a bankable standard anyway.
And what is a bankable, like what are the criteria of a bankable standard?
And it's not just because, good, well-run business, enough free cash flow. I mean, free cash flow is a good thing. In order to get capital, you've got to have enough free cash flow to support the additional debt payment, right? But so working towards maximizing your free cash flow, whether you need capital or not, is a good thing, right? Well-run and well financially managed businesses have easier access to capital. But being well-run, understanding where your profit drivers are, where your losses are, and better managing your expenses, that just leads to more profitability. It leads to access to capital too, but profitability is really the goal.
Yeah, and that profitability piece, I work with a lot of businesses that are in, venture funded, private equity backed. They have access to cash, but so many businesses are focused on top line revenue, which it's the fun number. It's the fun one. You get to tell it to your friends, you get to see it growing. But the amount of businesses that don't have clear insight into what their actual bottom line, what is your profitability, is painful.
Yeah.
And I see it as such a gap, because if you're not focused on profitability, then you are not a business that can sustain yourself. I think that's that should be fairly obvious. But without good financial data, you have no way, okay, great, we're making this top line. I don't know what decisions I need to make to increase my profitability. So you mentioned profit levers. It's so important for businesses to have access into what is actually my most profitable service or product, and what would be the mechanisms for increasing that, and where might we have bloat in our overhead that we can help cut out so that we're able to get to a profitable point.
Yeah. What's our most profitable project, and how do I repeat that frequently?
Yes.
Seems obvious, but you need to understand that.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I met with a venture capitalist maybe late spring last year. She literally works with NASA and the Department of Defense. The company she funds, literal rocket scientists doing amazing things. She had a great point to me. She said, my biggest problem, these companies are doing amazing tech. They don't speak business. And I flat out ask them, how is this going to make me money? And that second term's important in her title, capitalist. She's in it to win it. Understanding your cash burn. But if you still have that cash burn, then your survival's contingent on the ability to raise more capital. So, how do you speak business? How do you put together a plan and a forecast, a logical one, and own that forecast, those profit drivers, because you're going to get quizzed on it, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get challenged, and show that path to sustainability, because that's what they want to see.
As well as something we've talked about a little bit offline, but is the importance of cash flow and management of cash flow. A lot of businesses aren't monitoring it, and then all of a sudden realize this is a big problem and that we need to raise in the next 24 hours. And that's where there comes just a lot of issues with, you're not going to get good terms. You might get connected with the wrong people. So what advice do you have to people who don't know where should I start? If I don't know where my financials stand, I think I have an idea of a tool that they could use, but how can we break it down into a really simple action that somebody's listening? Where should they start?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is start. A journey of 1,000 miles, that first step. And definitely don't wait on, I got to figure out the perfect place to start. Reporting, that foundation probably is the best place to start. Really making sure that you do have good, solid financial reporting and accurate financial reporting. The next step would be, just as I think about it here, forecast. All right, here's where I am now. Accounting tends to be the story of where you've been. In finance tends to be the story of where you're going, plus maybe the allocation of risk in there. So, we build that foundation, and, you understand, are you profitable or not? Now let's start figuring out where you're going to go in the future and making informed, deliberate decisions, right? That support your overall objectives.
So good. Could not have said it better myself. The amount of companies that I speak with that, when I ask for what their targets are, when I ask for where they're trying to go, you get 10 different answers if there's, 10 different people on this team. And It is so important that we're based in actuals, because a lot of companies say, we're at 1 million, we want to scale to 10 million. That's fantastic. Let's look at actuals. Let's look at what's working, and then let's build a plan. You understand this being from a growth perspective, but anything's possible, absolutely. But we have to make sure plans are rooted in reality, and we're going to plan for this. Likely we're going to achieve this. So let's make sure that this baseline at least gives us what we need to sustain at a level we're comfortable with.
I remember seeing a advertisement in the airport years and years ago in big letters that hope is not a strategy. It's a great point. Simple, but a great point. Yeah. Who doesn't want to grow 10x? I do. But realistically, how are you going to do that? And if you're going to be asking in particular for venture style equity financing, you're going to get quizzed on that. You're going to get challenged on your assumptions. So you better know those and understand what happens, if there's a deviation here? Started my career as an Army officer, and everyone knows Murphy's Law. And there was always these, Murphy's Law of combat in the Army. No plan survives first contact with the enemy. And I've adapted that a little bit. Murphy's Law of business. No plan survives first contact with your prospect or your customer or the market, right?
Yes.
But you got a plan so that you know how you can effectively adapt midstream and very quickly. But
Yes.
that requires planning and
Yes.
understanding financial fluency here, right?
Oh, it's such a good call out though, because even what I said before that, yes, we want to have a plan directionally. We need to know where we're trying to get, but so many people waste their time trying to plan, okay, we're going to do this, then we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here. Exactly what you said, the first rep you take is going to
Yeah.
completely change the strategy. The best way for you to understand what needs to happen is conversation. So I know we've talked about this a little bit, but the importance of staying close to your customer and being comfortable with your ICP changing. I would love your opinion on how you've done that and any advice you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the best advice that I heard that was given to Breva, uh, and this was from a founder, maybe a couple of stages ahead of where Breva is in our life cycle. He said, stay close to your customer. Really, really dive in and communicate with your customer. And sage advice, sometimes, and that means more than superficial contact. What we've done, and I think this is brilliant. I can say that because it wasn't my idea, but I really wish it was. Yeah, I mentioned earlier we have those 16,000 interviews of small businesses. We put a chatbot on top of that and started communicating and talking with the data. And we've called that the voice of the customer. So we've used that, the data and the insights that we've gleaned from that to, you know, build version 2 of our platform. Every startup does this. You have an idea of who you think your ICP is, and then you test that theory. And I would venture to say 100% of startups are going to adjust that over time. We certainly have. We've gotten really, really specific on, what functionality we're going to build out, what problem it solves, and who we're going to solve with that. And really, those are data-driven decisions that we've made. So it's not just what we think. You hear commonly that, it's somebody's built a problem looking for, a solution looking for a problem. If it's data driven, you're not doing that, right? But we've changed over the last, 12, 13 months that I've been with Breva here. We've made some adjustments, not radical ones, but adjustments. And you've got to be prepared for that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, that's so good.
And you've got to be flexible enough and not kind of married to the, too much pride of ownership to the original idea that you can't adapt to what the market's telling you.
Yeah, kind of a thread throughout all of this is access to data. That's the starting point. Whether it's, data from these interviews, financial data. I work with a lot of sales teams. This is actually transcript data from conversations with customers. What trends can we pull out where our competitors are stronger, where we're stronger? What are the things that everybody has been talking about this in all of our conversations? Let's focus on that. Let's not get our ego in the way and say that we would know better than our customers. Absolutely not. We don't, and we will guess wrong. And so let them lead it. So it's such a smart approach. So obviously, Breva is very AI forward. I would love your opinion on where you see the greatest impact or positives from AI, and then any areas that you're concerned of or kind of want to just call out as potential risks with using AI.
Yeah. And that's a great question. I mean, I do think we are on kind of I think it's started kind of a paradigm shift, if I can use the consulting buzzword bingo overused term here. But, we had the industrial revolution. We've had kind of a digital computer revolution, which brought more people into the offices. AI is going to have an impact. And there are some things that, are going to get AI'd, if you will. Bookkeeping, AI transaction classification is really, really good and effective these days. So manual bookkeeping is going to go down significantly. But where I also think there's a lot of hype out there. And, every technological trend there always is. Where I think the real value is being created with AI right now isn't in replacing humans. It's doing things that humans aren't doing but need to be done. And that's exactly how we see our AI fitting in. It's an AI CFO. We're not replacing human CFOs. In fact, we see a pathway from an AI CFO to a fractional CFO to a full-time CFO. And we see fractional CFOs as really important distribution channels and partners for us. But it's that those businesses that don't have that really good financial person on their team and can't afford to have a really good financial person on their team. That's a great use case for AI because it's adding value or solving a problem where there isn't a solution today, right?
Yes. No, and that's a great trajectory of getting that access, and then there's some graduation. I want to ask something because I know Breva cares a lot about small businesses and making an impact. So I know that you have a quarterly grant that you do for businesses. So tell us about that. If people want to learn more or apply for it, where should they go?
Absolutely. Breva AI, and there's right on our homepage, there's a link that says the Thrive Grant. And please, anybody that's listening to that, check it out or share to anybody you think might be interested. We want to, so it's a $5,000 grant that we give to a small business that we think is making a really cool impact in their community. Fourth quarter winner is a company called Healthy Hip Hop. It's healthyhiphop.hiphop is, I believe, their website. They've got a great, fantastic program, movement education program based around really cool and good, interesting music as well. And he's from Lithonia. It's headquartered out of Lithonia, Georgia here, so almost a neighbor. Grants actually are interesting. Grant providers often complain that they don't get enough applications. So we'll match people to grants, businesses with grants, or Breva in our database. We have about 1,000 grants that we've found. And honestly, what I want to do is I want grant providers to have a really hard time deciding between all these wonderful, well-deserving companies. And, that's better for everybody too.
Yes.
So, if you know anybody running a small business, please check out the Thrive Grant. And if you're interested, we can help connect to other grant opportunities too.
That is amazing. Okay, before we wrap up, we're at the beginning of 2026. What are you and the team at Breva focused on? What should we be keeping an eye out for as we enter this new year?
So give us another week or so, and we will be launching version 2 of our platform. I have to brag on our technical team a little bit if I can. I've been in tech for a long time. This is the biggest leap in functionality in a new version that I think I've ever seen in my career. And part of that's the impact of AI, right? I mean, we can just write a lot more code. Each individual person can write a lot more code in one day than they could before using AI tools. But part of it, I think we have a really good tech team too. So look out for that. We're diving deeply into construction as well, and in particular, commercial construction. We're launching an accelerator program for construction companies. It's called Build Forward. The first one will be in North Carolina. And so here, definitely am actively looking for North Carolina construction companies to participate in that accelerator program. Our CEO and COO, Charles and Andrea Anoka, a married couple, also teach entrepreneurial finance at Duke. So good, hence the North Carolina connection there.
Yeah.
A chance
That's
to get
super
some,
exciting.
to really refine some skills there from some really talented instructors too.
Yeah, and I think what stands out about Breva is it's so clear, with these programs, these accelerators, the focus on education, that really is the mission, even without hearing it said. But the mission is to empower small business owners. And I've loved hearing about it. I am definitely going to be sending people your way specifically for that grant, as well as for some of those other programs. So Blair, thank you so much for coming on today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Beata. I've enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure to get to know you as well, and look forward to more.